There are more than 400 active and retired Catholic bishops in the United States, and those brother bishops share a special and unique bond with one another, but perhaps no more than one pair of bishops in particular, brother bishops who are biological brothers. Bishop Gregory Parkes of St. Petersburg, Florida, and Bishop Stephen Parkes of Savannah, Georgia, are the 11th pair of brother bishops in the history of the Catholic Church in the United States. Both are quite busy these days, tending to their respective dioceses, but their work does bring them together at different times, including at the most recent U.S. Bishops' General Assembly in Baltimore. That's where I got to sit down with them to hear their faith journey in depth. Bishop Parkes, thank you for joining me. Bishop Parkes, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure to be with you today, Catherine.
Well, it's my joy. You both have a really unique story, the 11th pair of brother bishops in the history of the U.S. Catholic Church. You're not just brother bishops, you're brother bishops. So I'd love to just lean into that unique family dynamic and unique vocation story. First off, who's the older brother? Who's the younger brother?
So I'm 14 months older than my brother Stephen to the day. My birthday is April 2nd, his is June 2nd. So we're 14 months apart. So I guess I'm the older brother by age, but he's my older brother in the priesthood because he entered seminary a year before I did and was ordained a priest a year earlier.
A lot of times people might ask a priest, well, when did you know that you had a vocation to the priesthood? But I'd like to ask you, when did you know your brother might have a vocation? And, were you two pious young brothers who never fought? What was that dynamic like?
I think, first of all, when we were growing up, I think it was Greg who we always thought would be the priest in the family. There's 3 boys in our family. And I think, Greg, you just had the disposition that was certainly one that we thought he would be called to be a priest. And thank goodness you said yes. What a huge blessing. So that was when we were younger. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a physician. And I realize now at this point in life that God wanted me to be a doctor, and I am a doctor of souls, so in a different kind of way.
Bishop Gregory, when did you suspect your brother might have a calling?
Really not until after college. We both spent some years working in business after we graduated from college. And during that time, Stephen kind of went from one thing to another, which is kind of a sign that you're searching. And then eventually he shared that he was discerning a vocation to priesthood. And so I guess at that point we knew, but it wasn't really evident until you were probably in your mid-20s, I would say.
Definitely. It was after college was when I really started seriously discerning. And I remembered it was a great joy when we found out you came home at Thanksgiving to visit, and then said that you were going to be hoping to enter the seminary the next fall.
I mean, seeing your brother enter seminary, did that further prompt you?
I think a little bit. He had a very good experience his first year. And I think it did give me the courage to finally say yes to God's call, something I had been thinking about for a number of years. But certainly the fact that my brother said yes to God, I think gave me the courage to do so as well.
That's beautiful. And now that you both are busy bishops leading your respective dioceses, how often do you get to communicate with one another and see each other?
Well, I like to say, it's a question I get asked a lot. Do you get to see your brother very much? Actually, I think we get to see each other more now that we're both bishops, because we come to meetings a couple times a year at the national level. We're on the board of trustees at our seminary, so we meet twice a year there. We go on retreat with other bishops once a year, and then in any other occasions that we might get together. And we prefer to text each other rather than spend long conversations on the phone. I think that's our preferred way of communicating.
And that's probably typical for a lot of adult siblings. I think we do pretty well, which is good.
You both are quite busy too, on top of that. Do you feel like you can confide with one another and help each other out with maybe different issues you're thinking through in your respective leadership positions?
Yeah, I would say, Catherine, we've always been that way, even when we were priests in Orlando and named pastors of brand new parishes. So starting a parish from the ground up, we would meet on a weekly basis and talk about the challenges we were facing. And I would ask my brother, how are you doing this? Or what did you do to get this started? So we often would help each other in that way. And when Stephen became a bishop, I didn't want to give him a lot of information, but I think I told him that I'm always here, always available if he had any questions. So.
I think being the younger brother, you want to kind of make sure you figure things out as best you can, but I'm very grateful to be able to have the wisdom and more experience, especially in the episcopacy, So it's been a real blessing to be able to speak with you, and always we make time when we are together for some family time. I think that's very important.
Outside of work and just purely as brothers.
Sure.
Do you tend to agree on most everything when it comes to matters of the church, or what's that dynamic like?
I would say for the most part, we're on the same page. Might be some small things or way of doing things that we differ, but stylistically. But in terms of faith and the beliefs and teachings of the church, I think we're on the same page.
We may look a little bit different, but I think our mannerisms are also sometimes very similar.
I can see that as well. And do you think your governing styles are similar too?
I do. I believe as priests and pastors, we were both very pastoral in our approach to ministry. I know I've tried to bring that to my time now as a bishop, my leadership, and I think my brother has done the same.
I also think that our father, I often look to maybe his example of fatherhood and think of how he dealt with situations, whether it be at work or in the home. And I think that was a good example and inspirational as well.
I think I can envision maybe some of our viewers watching this dynamic and thinking, well, what did their parents do? Maybe it was to instill the certain charisms you kind of need to have as bishop, whether that's governance, administrative skills and what have you. Was there anything in that nature that you look back and think, yeah, that was a skill set instilled in us by our parents?
I think my answer would be that our parents, when we were young as kids, always gave us a very good example of what it means to serve God and to serve his people. As a family, we were always very involved in ministry at our parish. The boys were altar servers. We were involved in youth ministry. My parents were served on the parish council, and eventually my mom worked for our parish. So I think it's just part of how things were when we were growing up, and they passed that example of service on to us.
And they loved the church. And that was very evident in our home. The church was a second home for us. We could walk to the church, and it was a place where we always felt very comfortable. And I think that certainly allowed us to freely discern and to be encouraged with a vocation.
Oh, I would agree. We always had priests who were pretty close friends of our family that would come over for dinner and spend time with us, holidays and so forth. So it was something we were very comfortable with, and our parents certainly encouraged us to consider vocations to the priesthood.
And I understand, if I'm correct, that both of your parents have since passed away. But what would they think if they were to see their two sons leading as bishops together?
I think they'd be very, very pleased, probably surprised, I'm not sure, but certainly very pleased. I think that they would enjoy visiting Savannah and St. Petersburg, and their presence is with us in a very special way. In their absence, they have a whole new presence.
Yeah, I like to think they're watching over us from heaven and certainly helping us, with their prayers to be the men, to be the bishops that God has called us to be.
Well, Bishop Parkes and Bishop Parkes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kath.
Thank you, Catherine.